Hi, I'm Sele Elisha Dasham, and the program is the Dailies on Echo Television International, where we keep you updated with what is happening from our papers, looking down from the weekend down till today, what is actually happened. I have with me Rachel Tanzi, and together we will be doing the program together. Good morning.
Morning, Sele.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. How about you?
Great, thank you. How was the weekend?
The weekend was okay. How was yours?
It was fine. We thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God for life, and happy new month to
Thank
you.
you. I wish you same.
Yes, and happy new month to our viewers out there. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube, so you can do well to drop your comment or your line of thought on what you think about the stories that are dropping on the papers, especially where we've seen that the federal government have replied the European Union concerning the report they gave about the election that took place from March and from February down to March. So a lot of back and forth on regarding that report. So we'll just call on you to sit tight as we take you down through the papers this morning, and we will be starting with this day newspaper.
On this day newspaper, Zenith retains top spot as Nigeria's #1 bank by Tier 1 capital for 14 straight years. You can find more of the details on page 5. Adeleke was underrated, says Oyo ex-governor Olunloyo. You can find the details of that statement on page 9. We have COAS Labaja urges Nigerians to pray for nation and military. The big story on the paper, we reject EU's 2023 election observation report on Nigeria. A statement coming from the federal government says report biased, flawed, born out of inadequate coverage. Atiku's aid report shows Tinubu rigged poll than Ba's presidency. EU's account corroborates our position, international observers, says Labour Party. Still on the paper, we have a picture story showing Wale Tinubu's mother celebrates 80th birthday, and another picture story that says Abdul Razak leads Dubai cultural celebration. And that's all the news on this day newspaper.
On the leadership newspaper, on Hart, Saudi Arabia blamed logistic challenges on invaders. You can find detail of that story on page 6 of the leadership. Kuka taxes federal government on freedom of worship. Still on the paper, we have weed overgrown Lafia Cargo Airport taken over by federal government. You can start reading the story on the front page and more inside the paper. No more division in Senate over Opabio's leadership. This is coming from the senators. You can read more of the story inside the paper. And on 2023 election, presidency, Labour Party, civil society organization differ on EU report. The Right of Law industry says, let us breathe. Presidency tells EU observers. You are just saving your face, Labour Party fires back. Over 1,000 petitions suggest poor conduct coming from the CSO. The court will decide, says IPAC. You can find more of all of the story on page 4. For 14 years, Zenith retained Nigeria's #1 bank ranking. And on subsidy saving, Serap seeks spending details. You can find more of that story on page 7. Jam boss Anambra girl who forged UTME results. You can find all of that story as well on page 6. We have a picture story here where we can see Governor Adeleke with the former governor as well on the front page of the paper. So you can do well to grab the leadership and read more detail of stories that are inside the paper.
On Daily Sun newspaper, IPAC laments growing insecurity in Anambra, berates Soludo. You can find the details on page 5. The big story on the paper, presidential election. Tinubu APC INEC fight back at tribunal today. Open defense on OB, Labour Party, Atiku and PDP petitions. You can find the details on page 6. Presidency rejects EU reports on 2023 poll. Report proves APC rigged election. A statement from Atiku's aide. Expert tax Tinubu to urgently arrest dwindling economy. You can find the details on page 25. PDP NWC meets senators over minority leadership. Peace Committee should present post-2023 election report, group demands. Zenith Bank retains position as #1 bank in Nigeria. Serap writes Tinubu seeks spending details of $400 billion naira of fuel subsidy savings. You can find the details on page 29. Still on the paper, Senate awaits Tinubu's ministerial list. Adamu's absence stalls APC's decision on National Assembly principal officers' positions. At the downside of the paper, I'm not under pressure on choice of commissioners coming from a brewery. You can find the details on page 28. We have a picture showing left to right President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Chairman Progressive Governors Forum and Governor of Imo State Hope Uzodinma, and President of the Senate Godswill Akpabio during a strategy meeting in Abuja at the weekend. And that's all the news on Daily Sun newspaper.
On the Vanguard newspaper, presidency reject EU report on 2023 general election. EU report reliable, says Atiku. You can find detail of that story on page 5. Zenith Bank retain position as foremost tier 1 bank in Nigeria. You can find that on page 5 as well. Anxiety as federal government resumes work on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway today. 9 illegal refineries with 1 million barrel per day production capacity uncovered in Bayelsa. You can find detail of that story on page 12. The big story for the Vanguard says March to Nigeria's economy recovery. Revealed Tinubu's move against terrorism, and it has some riders under which I'll take a few. It says comprehensive onslaught against terrorists and bandits begin. Security architecture set for review. And we also have presidency vow to stop crude oil theft, economic policy to reflect contemporary realities, and then consultation in the political economy and security sphere continue. You can find all of this story inside the paper on page 14. I think it's important that we all go through the paper and read that story in particular. Fuel subsidy made e-vehicles unattractive in Nigeria, coming from the World Bank. And JAM raises alarm over candidate parading fake scores. You can find all of that story on page 35. We have another story which is of interest here that says fuel subsidy removal, forex reform, investors rank in 5.3 trillion naira in the first half of 2023. And we have the rider that says highest gain in 15 years. Gain attributed to policy changes collaborate earnings, but analysts warn of debt and policy shocks. You can see the bar chart here showing some of the stock market monthly gain for the first half of the year. So you can do well to check January, February, March. We can see there was a down in March, and then also April it picked up a little, May also, and then in June we've seen that it really picked up there. So you can look inside the paper to see what all of this means. Still on the Vanguard newspaper, we have ministerial nominees where we have Ambassador Musa Mohammed may make the list. So if you want to know people who are possibly that might make that list, you can do well to read more on page 9. And on the 10th Assembly, opposition to Tambuwal minority leadership bids swells. You can find more of that story on page 8. We tend to be back and forth on this minority, knowing the fact that the PDP are the majority of the minority in the, the 10th House of Assembly. So they are meant to come up with a minority list. And they have been back and forth on eventuality where we saw that some of them are against Tambuwal being the minority, and then there are other people who are actually hoping to, vie for that position. But we hope that in the long run, whoever will emerge as that minority leader will actually do well by doing the right thing in the House. We can see that they say there is no any controversy concerning who the Senate president is now. So we hope to see who will be the minority leader. So you can do well to get more inside the paper. We also have a column for sport, so you can do well to get more detail of that story on page 31, and that's all on the Vanguard newspaper.
On Voice of Liberty, federal government rejects EU's verdict on 2023 general elections. And on food security, Nigeria will face food crisis in next 3 months, a statement coming from Bafarawa. You can find the details inside the paper. 24-hour curfew imposed as fresh crisis engulfs community. This is in Taraba State. The big story on Voice of Liberty, Tinubu's ministerial list reportedly ready as nominees undergo security checks at DSS. There are indications that the ministerial list of President Bola Tinubu is ready and is currently undergoing security scrutiny at the Department of State Services Office. Publish how 400 billion naira savings was spent, Serap urges Tinubu. This is still on fuel subsidy. Subsidy palliative may end up as Nigeria's greatest robbery. Statement coming from Professor Jibrin Ibrahim. Our members detained in Anambra prison without trial, coming from Meiti Allah. And on electricity tariff hike as next discourse play hide and seek, Nigerians in panic, bulk energy buying. You can find the details inside the paper, and that's all the news on Voice of Liberty.
Richard, before we move further, let's just touch a little. I know we did talk about the report coming from the EU last week, and the fact that they said that the report was the report, they said the election had some voters intimidation, some violence, especially during the presidential election, and then also given the fact that, INEC actually, denied lots of people the opportunity to exercise their fundamental human rights, talking about not uploading the result on the IRS as they promise, as appropriately. But then we've seen that the federal government is actually replying back, saying that the report is biased, saying that they looking at inadequate coverage and other things. But I clearly remember in the same paper where we had, INEC said that they were going to take recommendations, how they need to work on it. But I don't feel personally, that is for me, I don't think this is the time where, of course, as a country, we are trying to save our face from whatever it is. But I think this is the time for us as a country to go back and check what went wrong and how can we rectify that wrong. Let us remember we have offshore election, Imo State, Bayelsa State, and Kogi State. October, November, we will be having an election. And I think this is the right time because it's not far. We're in July right now, so we're talking about the next 3 to 4 months, another election will be coming up. So I think this is a time for, INEC to go back and walk up. Because I was opportune to listen to the interview of Festus, which is a spokesman of INEC, and he was giving some of will I say a report or a feedback on what actually happened, especially during the presidential election. And one of the questions that was thrown at him was the fact that talking about the result not being uploaded, was it a human error or was it a machine error? And then he tried to say that it wasn't, it was uploaded. But for Nigerians, if you say it was uploaded, they are talking about immediately, like real time, immediately you just log in, you should be able to have access to it. If we had that of the House of Assemblies that were there, what happened to the presidential election? This gave room to lots of doubt in the mind of Nigeria, making them to feel that the election was being rigged. And that is what we see the PDP, trying to hammer on it, that shows that is what happened. But I think this is a time where there should be, let's go back to the drawing table as a country and see where did we get it wrong? How can we avoid violence? How can we avoid intimidation of voters? Those people who were disenfranchised during the election, that didn't get to do it, what can they do next time to make sure that that did not repeat itself? Because this is not the first election Nigeria is having. I mean, we've been having elections since 1999. So you could tell that we are not novice to things like this. We should be knowledgeable about it. But then we always see one thing going wrong or the other. So I think this is the time for the government to go back and call INEC, the commission, see what went wrong. Because of course Nigerians will feel that this were taxpayers' money that you use and then you didn't actually deliver as it is. So I hope that we get to see, yes, the federal government will come out to say maybe some things were being biased, but I think let us look at it, looking at the bigger picture here. Did something go wrong during the election or not? And what can be done to rectify that so that we don't have a repeat and history will not repeat itself in that area ever again?
Of course, the federal government can only reject the report. However, they can't say it's false because the European Union are not lying. we also witness some of these things as Nigerians, and you can't say that millions of people who witness certain things are liars, and you, the federal government, are the only truthful people in play here. So yes, they might reject it because if they accept it, then they are ready to apologize to Nigeria. They are ready to say we didn't do well. Then they are ready to say we could even nullify the election, because this is true. So I feel it's only normal for the federal government in their place to say they reject the report, because if I should accept such a negative report, which is the truth, it means that more questions will be raising, and it will demand a lot of actions that the federal government are probably not ready for that kind of action. So I'm not surprised that they rejected it. However, we've clearly stated it here that the report from the European Union is not false, of course. We saw some of it. One for sure is the fact that the IREF didn't function as INEC promised us to. So that's already what would you call it? That's already the election not going as you have said it will. That's deceit on another level coming from the INEC itself, because even when questions were raised before the election, you assured us that you were ready, and this is for sure what Nigerians are going to get. And are we talking about voters' intimidation? Yes, that also happened in a lot of places, Sele, because there were people that couldn't, even in small polling units, there was voter intimidation, and all of that you witnesses in your own polling unit. We had eyewitnesses. It was all recorded. It was all over the place. So yes, this coming from that, and that's why I was like, why is it coming now? Because this could have gone a long way 2 months back or so. However, yes, the federal government can reject it, but it doesn't change the fact that this was how the 2023 general election played out. Just as you keep saying, Sele, it's left for them to fix what went wrong. It's left for you to be truthful to Nigerians. It's left for you to correct what needs to be corrected, and probe what needs to be probed. Bring to book those who needs to be brought to book, and then just take the necessary actions. Let Nigerians have some feeling that, you know what, some things were just beyond you. But when you sit down and just disregard these reports coming in and make it look like you were still in the right, then you're obviously not doing Nigerians right. But when you sit up and say, yes, we need to improve in this and that, then we are having a country that are really, really in the business of making sure that everything becomes better in the country all round, because we need to function well as a country.
Well, I don't want us to, ponder so much about it. Let the court decide what happened. Now, another story that is of interest to me on the paper is Nigeria will face food crisis in the next 3 months. Rachel, there are indicators that there are possibilities.
It's already happening.
Because, looking at the fact that if we're talking about food crisis, we're still looking at insecurity. Because when we say insecurity, we always look at it from just the human angle. But insecurity goes to a long way. We have food insecurity, because when you don't have food, you're not secured in that area. And most time what kills is not even war. Most time it's the hunger, because you need the food to run in case of anything that is happening. Now, let's look at a place like Taraba right now that is going through 24 hours curfew because of a crisis that was there. And then we've seen there have been indicators from last year coming from the Nigeria Organization of Agriculture saying the fact that there is going to be famine, or talking about food crisis if something is not being done, especially looking at the fact that flood, we still had flood that actually started taking, or like say destroying properties in some part of Nigeria. And then we're still having the fact that till date, looking at even the first subsidy removal, a lot of Nigerians cannot even have access to buy food. We looked at the fact that right now there's no longer, it looks like we no longer have the middle class. Either you're rich or you're poor, because even those who are in the middle class have gone down. If before you were actually projecting to spend 5,000 naira in a week, right now that 5,000 naira can no longer go a week. So you have to sacrifice, and a lot of things are happening. And I just hope, I don't know what the federal government is actually going to do about this, because people have raised voices. We've seen civil society adding up their voice to the masses, saying that people are actually going through a lot of food crisis. And we just hope that the federal government will come quickly to the aid of Nigerians, because They say a hungry man is an angry man at the end of the day. And so I just truly hope that the federal government will do something about it. It breaks my heart when you see stories like this. A lot of people are walking like living deaths on the streets. And so I just hope something will be done about that, because if you just thought right now, I was surprised during the weekend, Rachel, I don't know how many people were able to cook stew in their house because it was alarming that you cannot even use a tomato of 500 naira to cook stew.
True.
Far back was then that you could actually get a small rubber paint for maybe 1,000 naira, but that is not the price any longer. And so I just hope that something will be done about that, because people are really going through a lot of pain, especially in regard to food crisis. So I hope something, the government will just come up with an aid, just come up with something. This 8 weeks is looking like 8 years right now to Nigerians, especially to civil servants, those who have not seen their salary, pensioners, a lot of people. So I hope something will be done for Nigerians so that they can lift them out of this poverty that we are actually living in right now.
Of course, Sele, like I totally disagree with this report of saying in the next 3 months, Sele, there's already food crisis. I don't know where this prediction is coming from. We're already in the food crisis, because just as you mentioned, Sele, if you were living in a time where 5,000 was what you spent on feeding, you can't do that in a week. For example, you can't get that same value in the market. And I know a lot of time when we hear food crisis, our mind goes to scarcity. No, you will go to the market, you will see tomato. You will go to the market, you will see rice, you will see beans. But is you removing 1,000 to buy tomato and getting the value of what 200 naira would have given you a month ago? True. That is food crisis. It goes across every other thing. Yes, the availability of the food, and also the price of the food, and even the quality of what you are buying, because it's in this period that you will see a lot of people taking advantage of bringing fake products or finished goods into the market, because there is people are running out to look for more affordable things, and people will end up, oh, I bought this at this so location at this price, and people are not really conscious of whether it's original or not. All they're looking forward is that they are able to get this product and whether this company is satisfied. So yes, food crisis is a lot of things, and even the prices of those food is also part of the crisis, not only the availability. So we are already in a food crisis in Nigeria, because we are looking at inflation, we are looking at the standard of living going low. So we are in a food crisis already, and then there is the food security. Of course, it is a threat in the country as it is now, but until we grow to the agricultural level where we farm season in and season out, meaning we don't have to wait and the state adopt different measures of farming, that it doesn't only rely on certain foods coming from another state before you have that food available. Until we grow to that level in our agricultural sector, we will keep facing food crisis. Exactly, because just as you mentioned, we see flooding. Imagine if we have a mass up to like 50% of our farmers not only farming in the regular farmhouse, but farming through let's say greenhouses, for example. Therefore, you will see that things like flood might not affect food production. So until we grow to a lot of level when it comes to agriculture, we will keep facing food crisis. Trust me, Sele, even when subsidy is gone, as long as there is the issue of flooding, we will keep, because we are talking about climate change that has been a serious threat. What if we're facing no longer flood anymore, and then the next global reactions we're having is probably drought? There will still be food crisis. Exactly. So until we as a country grow our agricultural level, that we farm with every kind of technology, that we've adopted different kind of methods and measures of farming, we will still be facing food crisis at once. So there is a lot of work that needs to be done. However, I believe and I trust that the government are doing the right thing to make sure that we have food available in the country and that we are growing But as it is now, there are a lot of things that are threatening the growth. But I believe that this administration is working on it, that food crisis will no longer be a threat in the country.
Of course, we just hope so. Just as we are with this ministerial list, we hope that it comes as soon as possible so that the Minister of Agriculture can quickly start working. Well, let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper. CPPE seek end to highly volatile forex market as dollar trades between 461.5 naira to 841 naira at INE. You can find detail of that business story on page 18. African Development Bank OK's $150 million loan for Abia to rehabilitate roads, manage erosion and solid waste. You can find detail of that story inside the paper. The big story for the Guardian says pump price hike. Household consider solar alternatives amid high onboarding costs. You can find all of that story on page 6. And also we have presidency rejects EU conclusion on 2023 election. PDP National Working Committee meets senators today over minority leadership, alleged APC interference. We hope that the APC will just let this minority come up with who they want to actually, be their leader in the National Assembly. Published spending of 400 billion naira fuel subsidy savings, Serap asks Tinubu. We saw that last week on the paper where we've saved 400 billion naira from the fuel subsidy, and Serap actually asking to see how that money will be spent. I remember saying here that let us see this money being used to actually start cautioning this effect of fuel subsidy for Nigeria before you finally decide what you want to do about the $800 million, and also before you start thinking about what you want to do by increasing the minimum wage. Let us see this money being injected into the economy. I don't know how the federal government intend in sharing this money, because one thing is for sure, we are not strangers in Nigeria. We know the way it works sometimes. Somebody that's been given the head of such thing to actually disburse this money, we end up seeing putting his family members first, his friends, and then at the end of the day, the main people who need that money don't get the money at the end of the day. So we just hope to see what this will come up with. However they spend this money, we just hope Nigerians will be the first in the mind of the leaders, not about their own family members or their friends. We hope to see a change in the way things will happen henceforth.
Of course, Helen, a little bit about this 400 billion naira being saved from fuel subsidy removal. I'm a little bit concerned, Sele, because when we see our system is built in a way that it supports corruption on so many levels, just as you said, when Serap are asking for a review of what was spent, it is in place for them to ask for such, because this is my concern, Sele. If we say we are removing fuel subsidy as a country and nobody came out to say where this subsidy money will be channeled to, and now you wonder, now we have 400 billion naira that didn't go into fuel subsidy, because this is what the NNPCL boss told, that we spend monthly on fuel subsidy, and we've seen that throughout June there was no subsidy. It was taken out, so meaning we already have 400 billion naira. And the question is, the federal government never told us, if we remove fuel subsidy, this is what will be channeled toward. It means now automatically we need to see that project kick off. We need to see if it's into infrastructure. We need to see what infrastructural project is going to be started. If it's in manufacturing, where is the government sinking it into manufacturing? If it is to our sectors, if it is going to the agri, in what level, what part of the agricultural sector are you trying to develop with this money? If it's in the health, how do you plan on spending this money? We never got a detail from the government on what they plan to do with this fuel subsidy and removal savings we will have, and now we are left at the mercy of the government to come out whether they will want to give us a breakdown or not of what they plan to do with this money. And now Serap is asking, but we are supposed to be in the position where we already know before now where this money will be going to. And I just hope that we have a sincere administration that will come out and tell us this is what they plan on doing with it, and that we see the effect of what they're doing with the money.
Of course, Rachel. Well, let's look at a few stories still on the same paper. Imperative of UTME fees result validity review. You can find more of that story on page 4. Lagos building planning permits rate up by 100% amid worsening housing crisis. You can find all that story as well inside the paper, and that's all on the Guardian newspaper. But before we move further to other paper review, we'd love to take a break. We've said quite a lot here on the show. We'd love to hear what your inputs are concerning this story. The federal government have said that the European Union, report is actually biased. So we want to hear what you have to say. Already there's a report saying that food crisis in the next 3 months. Serap is asking the federal government to give detail about what they are doing or what they intend to do about the 400 billion naira that have been saved for the fuel subsidy. So a lot is actually on the paper this morning. We'd love to hear what your takes are when we come back from the break. Please stay tuned.
If people are engaged with happenings in their country, they will better understand where the government is going wrong.
And once they do, they are better equipped to combat the problem as well as prefer solutions.
On Nigeria Now, every Monday to Friday at 3:30 p.m., we bring you
analysis of happenings in politics,
crime,
security,
and government policies.
Welcome back. It's still the Dailies, your #1 news and current affair program on Echo Television International, your winning station. And we've been looking at various stories on the paper. We've seen that already there. We've seen the federal government has actually finished working on the ministerial list, so given to the DSS to go through it. We've also seen that federal government have said the report coming from the European Union is biased, and also there is a report saying food crisis in the next 3 months amid other stories on the paper this morning. So we'd love to hear what your inputs are concerning the story. What is the way forward recommendation and how Nigeria can be better? Our number is displayed on your screen at this moment. Please do remember to turn down the volume of your TV set when you call us on the program, or you can actually off your TV so we can hear you clearly here in the studio. Thank you so much. You have a minute at most to actually air your views, as other callers will also love to air their views on stories of interest to them. I still have Rachel Tanzi here in the studio with me. Thanks so much, Rachel. All right, let's take a look at the Punch newspaper right away.
On the Punch newspaper, opposition attacks federal government as president seal and bars EU poll observers. You can find the details on page 2.
All right, let's take the score.
First of all, say that the ministerial nominee list is long awaited for, and we believe the DSS will do their work, not just rubber stamp and pass and go. That is on the ministerial list. Then my sister on the right, is to food shortage. In short, I don't think there is anything to add to what she has said. She did right justice to it, because it's not as if there is not going to be food in the country, but the cost, the ability to access it, to have it in your home, is what I think is going to be a major problem. Mm-hmm. Because right now everything has actually gone up. Everything, and it's going up by the day. That is on that. And I don't really know what the government, the plan is, because I can't imagine what measure they will put in place to cushion these great effects, the biting of the economy on the Nigerian poor masses. Either we like it or not, it's biting hard on everyone. I heard one of the political party in power, one of their stewards in Lagos, saying that he bought a fuel of 10,000 naira, and he thought the fuel attendant cheated him, and went to another station to buy and discovered that it's the same. So now he doesn't go out as he should. He barely go out with his Jeep, from that point. So why? Because if you have an 80 liters vehicle, gasoline 80 liters, then times that by 550 or thereabout, that tells you how much will fill your tank. So how much is the salary? They are just talking about salary increase for civil servants. What of private sector? There is no rule that says the private sector will increase their own. You see, so there is a problem. If you increase the public sector, what happens to the private entrepreneurs? And just to round up, there is a real challenge in the land, and we just pray God will help us. It's really painful, it's pathetic, but God will surely help us out. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. The call for, actually adding up to all of that. Well, let's continue with the Punch.
Still on the Punch newspaper, NLC to meet Tinubu on 65-year retirement age. NNPCL marketers fell vessels arrive next week. Coming from Ibman, you can find the details on page 21. The big story on the Punch newspaper, governors battle cash crunch. Delta, Imo, Cross River, Oyo lead as states borrow 130 billion naira in 3 months. 17 shortfall hit states internally generated revenue. Debts rise to 5.5 trillion naira. You can find the details on page 23. Still on the Punch newspaper, UTME top performer manipulators call faces persecution coming from JAM.
Concerning the issue of salary, I want to talk about.
All right, go ahead, please.
Yeah, if you check the scenarios of what is happening in Nigeria, the removing of subsidy is something that we needed for a long time. And with what is happening in Nigeria, we need to endure and bear issues. So where the problem lies now, if the head has a problem, the body must be affected. In other words, if the political heads are looking for increment of salary, and we are now bargaining against the laborers not to be increased, then we are not making headway. So if them that are up collecting salary that a sole worker will collect in 36 years of his age in the working system, he can not collect it even in 1 month. They will collect it. The political officer holders will collect that salary. And you that work for 36 years cannot collect that salary even amounted to that amount in a month. So you should know that there's a problem. So let us consider the laborers and let us work on them. God bless you in Jesus' name.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Still on the Punch newspaper, we have Kanmon as kidnappers kill RCCG pastor, 7 churchgoers rescued. Zenith Bank leads Nigeria lender in new global ranking. You can find the details on page 23, and that's all the news on the Punch newspaper.
On first newspaper on demolitions, I'm not on Van detailed mission. All right, let's take this call.
I think you guys are doing it. But you need to do more better job. You need to speak the mind of mothers and the mind of ladies. You guys go to the market. You guys go to work. I know you don't check, but sometimes you do some other way to go to work. Let me tell you, in Lagos today, many people don't go to work in Lagos 5 times a week because of what is happening. Just like what you said, the last caller just said that somebody in government said he bought for 10,000 naira and then he has to go to civil station. In Lagos, a lot of offices now, people only work 3-4 days a week. In Kano, that is Kano now, there's hospitals in Kano, I just saw in the blueprint, that the general hospital in Kano, they don't even operate generator between some hours. So if you have an operation, you have to wait to certain hours before you can go there. What am I trying to say? Things are going terrible. And look at the priorities that they are trying to give the services that are going, my sister. The services are going with billions of naira, bulletproof cars, etc., etc. And somebody is saying Nigeria to endure. How can we endure with this when these people are living with billions? I don't know whether you guys have gone through and heard what they say they want to give the services that are going. Like my last caller said, people have served this country for 30 years. They don't retire with nothing. But services that are here are going to be going with billions. And they are talking about Nigeria should be patient. We can't be patient. This country, we need God's intervention. God bless you and keep up the hard work. But please, my sister, go to the market more and tell us really what is happening. I love what you guys are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Still on First Newspaper, we have Tinubu returns to Abuja after trips to Paris and London and Lagos. You can find detail inside the paper. Rep Speaker disowned 8-over interview disparaging Buhari. You can find more inside the paper. And we have Ifeanyi vows to end sit-at-home procure security equipment. I cancelled Ilori Ilese Festival after my life was threatening. Neighbors abandoned me, coming from Oshun. You can find more of that story from that state, what that means. The big story for the First newspaper, 2023 polls, federal government shut down EU mission report, declares finding poorly done DEX job. Articles 8 tackles federal government for dismissing report, says election result not fully uploaded. You can find all that in the paper.
I just want to thank you people for this program because you people have been a kind of assistance to us. Honestly, this issue of this country is no longer funny. This subsidy issue is really taking life. I can't imagine the president we just came on board and the whole thing just as in the people that I don't know whether they voted for him or not. They are the same people now dying of hunger and so many things. I don't know when we in Nigeria have become a problem to ourselves. We have become a devil to ourselves. How? You are increasing salary and the salary is going for fueling and house rent and feeding. So what are you saving for your future? What are you saving for the children? That means it have no value. The increase of the salary have no value. It's as if a devil that gives you a gift with a left hand and is collecting it with right hand. It's obvious. Please, they should help us. We are dying of hunger. Things are being increased in markets. We cannot even get. You cannot even take 5,000 naira to the market to spend in a day. Please, they should help us. Nigeria the leader should hear our cry, please. It's getting out of hand. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Ma, for that. That cry out, and this is just one out of many Nigerians that are crying. Something should be done. Imagine back was then when you take 5,000 naira to the market, you can get something tangible. Right now, you go to the market and come back with a black polythene bag. 5,000 naira has gone. I just hope something will be done. Truly, we hope the government will actually sacrifice. We've been saying over and over, the president said Nigerians should sacrifice. I guess Nigerians have sacrificed enough.
You're already sacrificing.
I think it's high time the leaders start sacrificing.
I think my comment is actually on the subsidy.
All right, go ahead, please.
Okay, so the subsidy is where all of us are lamenting and crying about. If you look at the subsidy today, the setup is saying that the 400 billion so far collected in the last 4 weeks or so, Tinubu should tell Nigerians. And it surprised me that some Nigerians are even hailing the president for removing the subsidy, as if this is the first time that subsidy is being removed in this country. Since we've been experiencing a lot of subsidy removal, nothing has happened, our life hasn't changed. And the government has brainwashed many Nigerians to believe that removal of subsidy is the panacea, is the only solution for our socio-political problem. But let us look at what is even subsidy. Subsidy are being applied worldwide. In fact,
Thank you very much. Yeah, I remember one time I mentioned it on the show that Nigeria is not the only country that we have world-leading power economy, like the US also giving subsidy for gas and all of that in their country. And he just mentioned other countries that are into giving fuel subsidy. And when we look at it truly, Sele, it makes it look as if subsidy is a solution to the problem to Nigeria, but it is the least. And just as he said, we've had previous government and administration take out subsidy and we still never had a report on what are you doing with it. And that's why I said it is my worry, because with this subsidy gone, what are the government channeling the money into? And we also need to see the result of that.
All right, go ahead, please.
Suffering. Mostly now, because of the flood coming now, we are suffering. Mostly worry. In worry now, all the roads, they bring some contractor, cut the road, nowhere to pass. In worry now. That's all. Cut the road, say they are doing the road, but nothing is going on in the road. To go to market is problem inside worry now. Then apart from that, federal government talk about Mandela refinery, but till now we didn't hear anything about those refineries. If Bonny Island can use gas to generate light because of their gas, we in Delta States and those states, we can still use that same gas by. They want to take from here to Niger to generate light for the youth, to do one or two business, barbing salon, some other things, tailoring, because you can't buy the fuel in the market again. In the filling station, imagine we buy fuel for 520 naira today. Tomorrow we will buy 535, up and down. Let them fix this fuel price. We will know if it is 500. We will know if it is 500. Then they bring things like the refinery. The Mandela refinery will take some people out of the street. People will go there and walk. Those states now do their own. Their light area. They do their own light area now to light those states. Imagine in Delta State we have enough gas in Delta State to do those same things. Then apart from that, they are talking about transport. They will bring some buses. If they bring those buses, they will still contract it out to their own political guru. They will contract those buses out to their political guru. They will say that those people will manage the bus. I plead to the federal government to do trainway from Lagos to Niger Delta. Trainway from Lagos to Niger Delta. Then this Koko Ogeye Road, that's from Benin to Warri, you get Koko Junction. From there to Lekki, very easy. So all those roads, then Escavos or Madino Road to Chevron, we plead to the federal government, let them help us to do those things for we in Niger Delta. Right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Rachel, you were tipping some things.
Oh, yeah, I've actually concluded, but then, yes, we just need a transparent government because everything looks like it fails or support corruptions in the country, lack of transparency, lack of accountability, and we need that from this administration for us to truly believe that they want the best for Nigeria.
Yeah, just to round it up, still we're still talking about the issue of fuel subsidy and all of that. Just one of the papers we read on the Vanguard that said about 9 illegal refineries were being found, and then each of these refineries can bring about 1 million barrels of oil per day in Bayelsa. Now, what are we going to do about this 9 illegal refineries? Why don't we look into how we can join it up to have more refineries? If it's illegal, what make it illegal? How can it make up the standard to be a legal refinery? And then the government can take advantage of that, pump the money back into the economy. So these are just part of the thing we are truly looking for, that the government can, let's have a synergy with the people of Bayelsa State and other refineries in other states. Even in Rivers, we've had that before. So we hope to see more measures coming up just so that Nigerians can actually have a very comfortable, environment to live. We don't still have people japping, going left, right, and center.
Yes.
I just hope something better will be done. Well, Richard, thanks so much for doing this with me. Thank you to all our callers who called in this morning to air their views. It was really a privilege to hear your voice and to hope that we bring solutions that can make Nigeria a better place for each and every one of us. Well, until we come here again tomorrow with another package of the Dailies, stay tuned for other programs.